The morning sun rose over Eden 7, painting the sky in soft colors of pink and orange. The planet was beautiful, with rolling green hills and crystal-clear lakes that reflected the light like mirrors. In the distance, 2 moons still hung in the brightening sky, slowly fading as day arrived. On top of a hill, surrounded by gardens full of colorful flowers, stood the New Haven Orphanage. The building was large and welcoming, with wide windows that let in plenty of sunshine. Inside, 847 children were waking up, getting ready for another day of school and play. Director Hyun walked through the hallways, her footsteps soft on the polished floors. She was 45 years old with kind eyes that crinkled when she smiled. She had run this orphanage for 15 years, ever since she lost her own family in a terrible accident. Every child here was special to her, every single one. She stopped at the dining hall where children were eating breakfast. The room was filled with the sounds of talking, laughing, and the clinking of plates and cups. Human children from different colonies sat together, sharing stories and jokes. Some had lost their parents in mining accidents. Others had survived ship disasters or sickness that took their families. But here at New Haven, they were safe. They were home. Ji-woo, the oldest child at 16, helped the younger ones reach the food counter. He was tall and strong, with a gentle smile that made the little kids feel protected. He had been at New Haven for 8 years, since his parents died in a mining collapse. Now he looked after the others like they were his own brothers and sisters. Near the window sat Bo-ra, a 9-year-old girl with bright, curious eyes. She held a book about stars and planets, reading while she ate her breakfast. Bo-ra loved space more than anything. She dreamed of flying between the stars one day, visiting faraway worlds and discovering new things. Her parents had died 3 years ago when a terrible sickness swept through her colony, but she never stopped dreaming. Teacher Kyung-mi walked into the dining hall carrying a stack of papers. She was 38 with a soft voice and endless patience. She taught the children about Earth, the beautiful blue planet where humans first came from. She told them stories of how their ancestors had looked up at the stars and decided to explore them. She taught them that humans were brave, curious, and kind. After breakfast, the children went to their classes. Bo-ra sat at the front of Teacher Kyung-mi's room, excited to learn. Today's lesson was about humanity's first contact with alien species. The teacher showed pictures of the Centaurans, peaceful beings who had shared their technology with humans, helping them travel faster through space. "Are there bad aliens too?" asked a small boy in the back. Teacher Kyung-mi smiled gently. "The universe is very big. There are all kinds of beings out there. But humans have learned to protect themselves. And we have friends who help us." "You're all safe here." Bo-ra raised her hand. "When I grow up, I want to explore space and meet new aliens." "Will they like me?" "I think they'll love you," the teacher said warmly. "You're smart and kind. You'll make a wonderful explorer." Far away from Eden 7, 3 light-years distant, Fleet Admiral Tae-yang sat in his office on Armstrong Station. He was 57 years old, a decorated military officer with gray hair and sharp eyes. He had spent 30 years protecting human colonies from pirates and dangers. Commander Hyun-woo entered the office looking worried. He was the intelligence director, 42 years old, with a mind that could spot patterns others missed. He carried a datapad filled with reports. "Admiral, we have a problem," Hyun-woo said. "The Valtari have been moving ships near our borders. More than usual." "I think they're planning something." Admiral Tae-yang studied the data. The Valtari were a powerful alien empire that controlled hundreds of worlds. They were known for being aggressive, taking what they wanted from weaker species, but they had never directly attacked human colonies before. "Have they made any threats?" the Admiral asked. "No, sir. But their scout ships are getting closer." "I don't like it." Admiral Tae-yang thought for a moment. "Increase our defensive readiness. Put our ships on alert. But we can't start a war based on suspicion. We need proof of hostile intent." Hyun-woo nodded, but he still looked worried. Something in his gut told him danger was coming. He just didn't know where or when. Captain Yoonji commanded the destroyer Ued's Indomitable, patrolling the outer edges of the Eden 7 system. She was 34, one of the youngest ship captains in the fleet. She had grown up in an orphanage herself. After pirates killed her parents when she was 7, she knew what it was like to lose everything. That's why the children of New Haven were special to her. They sent her letters and drawings, cheering her on during her years at the academy. She kept every single letter in a box in her quarters, Sometimes, when space felt too big and lonely, she would read them and remember why she did this job. She protected people. She protected children. Today, she received a new video message from the orphanage. The children had put on a play about ancient Earth heroes. She watched it in her ready room, smiling at their enthusiasm and creativity. At the end, little Bora appeared on screen. "Captain Yunji, thank you for keeping us safe. When I grow up, I want to be brave like you and explore the stars." Yunji felt her heart warm. She made a note to send the children a care package, maybe some old Earth books from her personal collection, stories of adventure and hope. Meanwhile, in a completely different part of space, War Master Threxnal studied holographic maps on his flagship. He was a veteran commander of the Valtari military, cold and calculating. He had conquered 17 worlds in his long career. To him, war was simple. Find weak targets, take what you want, crush any resistance. His tactical officer, Sub-Commander Krelvac, stood beside him looking at the same maps. Eden 7 was highlighted in red, rich in rare minerals, lightly defended. Populated by humans, a species the Valtari considered primitive and soft. "Perfect target," Threxnal said. "We'll hit them fast, take what we need, and leave before their main fleet can respond." "Easy." Krelvac hesitated. "Sir, I've read the reports about human technology. They're more advanced than we thought, and their military has a good reputation. Maybe we should—" "Are you afraid?" Threxnal cut him off. "We've dominated this sector for 300 years. The humans are newcomers. They haven't faced real warriors before. This will be quick." Krelvac said nothing more, but doubt gnawed at him. He had learned in his career that underestimating your enemy was the fastest way to die. Back on Eden 7, evening came softly. The children finished their classes and went to play in the gardens. Jiwoo organized a game of chase with the younger kids, making sure everyone was included. Bora sat on a bench with her astronomy book, looking up at the sky as the first stars appeared. Director Hayun watched them from the doorway, her heart full. These children had all suffered losses, but here they were, laughing and playing. They were healing. They were growing. They had hope. That night she read bedtime stories to the youngest children. A little girl, only 4 years old, asked a question that made Hayun's breath catch. "Director Hayun, are there monsters in space? Like in the stories?" Hayun hugged the child gently. "There are scary things in the universe, sweetheart. But you know what? There are also brave people who protect us. People like Captain Yunji and Admiral Tae Yang. They make sure we're safe. And as long as they're watching over us, you can sleep peacefully." The little girl smiled and closed her eyes, comforted. Hayun turned off the lights and stood in the doorway for a moment, listening to the soft breathing of sleeping children. Tomorrow would be another good day. Classes and play and laughter. Everything would be fine. She had no way of knowing that tomorrow would never come. Not for her. Not for most of these children. In the darkness of space, 17 Valtari warships were already moving toward Eden 7. Their weapons powered up. Their crews preparing for what they thought would be an easy raid. The last peaceful night on Eden 7 passed quietly. The children slept, safe and warm in their beds. The stars above shone bright and beautiful, and in the silence between worlds, death was coming fast. It was 4 a.m. when the sensors on Eden 7's defense station screamed a warning. 17 massive shapes dropped out of faster-than-light travel right at the edge of the system. 17 warships. Enemy warships. The defense station's officer stared at his screen in disbelief. This wasn't a small raid. This was an invasion. He hit the emergency alert button, sending warnings across the planet and out to the nearest military stations. Then the Valtari jammed all communications. The warning stopped mid-transmission. "Captain." Yunji was 2 light hours away on patrol when her ship's sensors picked up the quantum signature of ships arriving at Eden 7. That many ships meant serious trouble. She immediately ordered her destroyer to jump to Eden 7 at maximum speed. "How long to get there?" she asked her navigator. 43 minutes, Captain. 43 minutes. Yunji's hands gripped the arms of her command chair. So much could happen in 43 minutes. She sent an emergency message to Admiral Tae Yang at Armstrong Station. Then all she could do was wait and pray she wouldn't be too late. On Eden 7, the Valtari ground forces landed fast. Their dropships came screaming down through the atmosphere, deploying hundreds of soldiers. The colony's small defense force tried to fight back, but they were designed to handle pirates and smugglers, not a full military invasion. Within minutes, the colony's defenses were overwhelmed. Director Hayun woke to the sound of explosions in the distance. For a moment, she lay in bed, confused. Then the emergency alarm started blaring through the orphanage's speakers. Her blood ran cold. She jumped out of bed and ran into the hallways. Children were emerging from their rooms, scared and confused. Some of the younger ones were crying. "Everyone stay calm," Hayun called out, forcing her voice to sound steady. "We need to get to the emergency shelters." "Teachers, help me guide them." Teacher Kyungmi appeared, her face pale but determined. Jiwoo was already helping the younger children, lifting the smallest ones into his arms. Other older children followed his example, taking charge of groups and moving them toward the underground shelters. Bo-ra clutched her astronomy book to her chest, her eyes wide with fear. "Director Hayun, what's happening? Are we under attack?" Hayun knelt down and hugged the girl. "We're going somewhere safe, sweetheart. Everything will be okay. I promise." It was a lie, but sometimes lies were kinder than truth. They moved through the dark hallways, emergency lights casting red shadows on the walls. The explosions were getting louder, closer. The building shook with each blast. Some children screamed. Others went silent with terror. In orbit above Eden 7, War Master Threxnell watched the invasion proceed on his command screen. His ground forces were making excellent progress. The human colonists were running, hiding exactly as expected. "This would be over quickly." "War Master," said one of his officers, "we've detected a large structure with reinforced walls. Thermal scans show many heat signatures inside. Could be a defensive position." Threxnell glanced at the readout. The structure was isolated on a hill. The reinforced construction suggested military use. "Send a strike team. Neutralize it." The officer transmitted the order. Neither of them checked what the building actually was. They didn't care. It was just another target. Captain Velkor led the Valtari strike team toward the orphanage. His tactical computer had marked it as a potential threat. He saw the reinforced walls, the thermal signatures. Looked like a bunker or command center. He ordered his team to deploy plasma charges around the building's base. Inside, Hayun and the teachers had just gotten most of the children into the emergency shelter. The shelter was designed to protect them from storms and earthquakes. It had thick walls and emergency supplies. It was never meant to withstand military weapons. Teacher Kyungmi made it to the communications room. She needed to send a distress call to let someone know what was happening. Her hands shook as she activated the emergency beacon. The camera system was still working. She could see armed figures outside, setting up some kind of equipment around the building. She hit the record button. "This is New Haven Orphanage on Eden 7. We are under attack. We have 847 children here. Please, someone help us. We're not soldiers. We're not a threat. We're just..." The plasma charges detonated. The orphanage's shields, designed for weather protection, lasted 8 seconds against military-grade explosives. The walls cracked. The ceiling shattered. The emergency shelter, built strong but not strong enough, began to collapse. Director Hayun threw herself over 3 small children, using her body as a shield. The ceiling came down on her. She felt crushing pain. Then nothing. Jiwoo was pushing younger children toward a gap in the collapsing structure, trying to find them any chance of escape. A support beam fell. He had no time to dodge. His last thought was hoping the little ones made it out. Teacher Kyungmi's transmission cut off mid-sentence as the communications room collapsed around her. Bo-ra was in the deepest part of the shelter, still clutching her book about stars. The lights went out. The air filled with dust and smoke. She coughed, scared and confused. She heard other children crying, screaming. Then she heard nothing but the terrible sound of breaking stone. Her last words, recorded by the shelter's emergency black box, were barely a whisper. "I wanted to see the stars." Then silence. 12 minutes from the first explosion to complete structural collapse. 847 children dead. 63 teachers and staff members dead. Not one survivor. Captain Yoonji's destroyer burst out of faster-than-light travel into the Eden 7 system. What she saw made her heart stop. The planet below was burning. Smoke rose from dozens of impact sites. The Veltari fleet hung in orbit like vultures, their cargo ships already loading stolen resources. Her tactical officer checked the scans, his face going white. "Captain, the orphanage. It's gone. Complete structural collapse. I'm reading no life signs." For 10 seconds, Eunji couldn't move, couldn't breathe. She saw the box of letters in her quarters. The drawings. The video messages. Bora's bright smile as she talked about exploring the stars. All gone. Her voice, when she finally spoke, was cold and flat. Dead calm. All hands to battle stations. Charge weapons. Plot an attack course on the nearest Valtari ship. Her weapons officer looked shocked. Captain, there are 17 of them. We're one destroyer. I know what it is, Yunji cut him off. I'm giving them a fight. I'm making them hurt. And I'm buying time for any colonists still evacuating. Now charge the weapons. The officer swallowed hard, then nodded. Around the bridge, the crew moved to obey. They had all seen the reports. They knew what happened to the orphanage. If their captain wanted to go down fighting, they would follow her. The Indomitable screamed toward the Valtari fleet at full speed. The enemy didn't even have their shields raised. They weren't expecting resistance. Why would they? The planet was beaten. Yunji's first missile salvo caught 3 Valtari cargo ships completely by surprise. They exploded in brilliant fireballs. The Valtari fleet scrambled to respond, confused and angry. How dare one ship attack them? For 6 minutes, the Indomitable fought alone against 17 warships. Yunji used every trick she knew. She hid in the planet's magnetic field. She targeted damaged systems instead of trying for quick kills. She wanted them to suffer. She wanted them to remember this. The Indomitable took hit after hit. Hull breaches opened across multiple decks. Fire suppression systems struggled to keep up, but they kept fighting. War Master Threxnell, furious at the unexpected resistance, ordered his entire fleet to focus on destroying the destroyer. It was overkill. It was emotional. It was a mistake, because while all 17 Valtari ships focused on killing one destroyer, they didn't notice the massive fleet dropping out of faster-than-light travel behind them. Admiral Taeyang had arrived with the entire Outer Rim fleet, 90 ships in perfect attack formation. The Admiral's voice came over the open channel, cold as ice. All ships, weapons free. Show no mercy. The human fleet opened fire. The battle was brutal and quick. The Valtari were caught completely out of position, their formation broken, their attention on the wrong target. The human ships tore through them with coordinated precision. Missiles, energy weapons, kinetic rounds. Everything humanity had, they used. 11 Valtari ships were destroyed in the first 5 minutes. The rest tried to retreat. War Master Threxnell's flagship took critical damage to its engines. He broadcast a message trying to negotiate, to explain. Admiral Taeyang cut him off. You killed children. There is nothing to discuss. Only 6 Valtari ships managed to escape into faster-than-light travel. The rest were destroyed. Admiral Taeyang let the survivors go on purpose. He wanted them to run home, to tell their leaders what happened, to spread the word about what humanity does to those who harm children. The Indomitable, barely holding together, was recovered by fleet rescue ships. Yunji and 60% of her crew survived. Her ship would never fly again, but it had bought enough time. Thousands of colonists had evacuated during the battle. Admiral Taeyang went down to the planet's surface. He walked through the ruins of New Haven, his face like stone. Rescue teams searched desperately for survivors. They found none at the orphanage. They found the black box. They recovered Teacher Kyungmi's 15-second transmission. They found Bora's last words recorded in the shelter's memory. Part 3, the footage from New Haven reached Earth within 48 hours. Every news channel showed it. Every screen displayed those terrible 15 seconds. Children screaming. Adults dying to protect them. Bora's final words about wanting to see the stars. Across human space, people stopped what they were doing and watched. Parents held their children tighter. Strangers met each other's eyes and saw the same thing. Rage. Grief. And something deeper. Something primal that humans carried in their very bones. The need to protect children. Any children. All children. The United Nations General Assembly met in emergency session. Representatives from all 247 member nations gathered. There was no debate. No political fighting. No discussion of costs or consequences. The vote to declare total war on the Valtari Empire was unanimous. Every single nation, every single voice. War. President Dong Hyun addressed humanity from the assembly hall. He was 63 years old, usually calm and diplomatic. But now his eyes were hard as steel. His voice carried across every human world. They killed our children. 847 innocent lives. They thought we would accept this. They thought wrong. There is no forgiveness for this. There is no mercy. There is only war. war until they surrender unconditionally, or until they no longer exist as a threat. They chose this. Now they will face the consequences. Within 72 hours, humanity mobilized on a scale never before seen. Every colony contributed. Every resource was redirected. Factories that built civilian ships started building warships. Research labs working on peaceful technology switched to weapons development. Mining operations doubled their output. Young people lined up to join the military. Old soldiers came out of retirement. Scientists volunteered their knowledge. Entire communities worked around the clock, united by one goal: justice for New Haven. On the Valtari homeworld, War Master Threxnall reported to the High Council. He was one of the 6 survivors from the Eden 7 disaster. His report downplayed the defeat. "We encountered unexpected resistance," he said. "The humans have a competent military. But we are still far superior. They control only 85 star systems. We control 200. This will be a short war. A few battles to teach them their place, then they will negotiate." Sub-Commander Krelvax, who had also survived, stood at the back of the chamber. He wanted to speak up, to warn them. He had seen something in the human response that terrified him. It wasn't just military strategy. It was personal, emotional. The humans weren't fighting for territory or resources. They were fighting for revenge. But when he tried to voice his concerns, the council dismissed him. "Emotion makes species weak," they said. "Logic and strength win wars. The humans will break like all the others." The council authorized a major campaign against human space. 3 full battle fleets, 60 capital ships, 200 support vessels. It was 3 times the force they had used to conquer entire civilizations. What the Valtari didn't know was that humanity had been preparing for major war for over a century. Not because humans wanted to conquer. They didn't. But they had learned early that the galaxy wasn't entirely peaceful. So they prepared. They built weapons and kept them locked away, hoping never to use them. Now, those weapons were being unlocked. Dr. Youngsu stood before Earth's war cabinet, presenting options that made even hardened military officers go pale. He was the director of defense research, a scientist who had spent 30 years developing weapons he prayed would never be used. "We have weapons that can accelerate missiles to near light speed. They can shatter planets. We have bombs that collapse faster than light fields, trapping enemy fleets in normal space. We have artificial intelligence systems that can coordinate thousands of ships as one perfect unit. We have machines that can take apart enemy vessels at the molecular level. We even have the technology to weaponize stars themselves." His voice cracked with emotion. "We built these hoping we would never need them. We wanted to be better than our worst instincts. But they murdered 847 children. They showed us what they are. Now we show them what we can be when we stop holding back." President Dong Hyun authorized the deployment of every weapon. All of them. The gloves were off. Humanity would show the Valtari exactly what they had awakened. 3 months after the attack on New Haven, the Valtari launched their campaign. Their 3 battle fleets converged on Proxima Centauri, humanity's second oldest colony. Intelligence said it was lightly defended. An easy target. Admiral Tae Yang was waiting for them. The Valtari fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel and saw 12 human capital ships. Exactly as their intelligence predicted, they prepared to attack, confident in their overwhelming numbers. Then the trap sprung. 3 quantum disruption warheads detonated around the Valtari fleet. The warheads didn't destroy ships. Instead, they collapsed the quantum fields that allowed faster-than-light travel. The Valtari fleet was locked in normal space. They couldn't jump away. They couldn't retreat. They could only fight or die. 78 more human ships powered up from hiding positions in the asteroid belt. The Valtari found themselves surrounded, outgunned, and trapped. Admiral Tae Yang gave one order: fire. The human fleet attacked from 3 directions at once. This wasn't the desperate defense of Eden 7. This was coordinated, calculated warfare. Every human ship was connected through quantum communication systems, their targeting coordinated by artificial intelligence. They moved like a single organism. They never missed. Captain Yoonji, now promoted to commander and given a new ship, the dreadnought Unity's Fury, led the attack. Her ship was named after New Haven's motto. She targeted the Valtari command ship specifically, cutting off their leadership. Her crew worked with cold efficiency. No anger, no rage, just systematic destruction. The battle lasted 4 hours. 60 Valtari capital ships were destroyed. 200 support vessels were blown apart. 8,000 Valkyrie died. Human losses were minimal. 2 destroyers. 247 personnel. Near the end, the Valtari commander tried to surrender. He broadcast on all channels, begging for mercy, offering to negotiate. Admiral Taeyang's response was short. "You killed children. There is no surrender. There is only justice." Every remaining Valtari ship was destroyed. No prisoners, no mercy. The admiral had meant what he said. News of the Proxima offensive spread through the galaxy fast. Other alien species watched with growing concern. The humans, who had seemed peaceful and friendly, had revealed themselves capable of total war. And they were very, very good at it. The Centauran Consortium, humanity's oldest alien friend, sent an ambassador to Earth. Ambassador Velthus met with President Dong-hyun, pleading for restraint. "President, we understand your anger, but this level of warfare, this total destruction, please show mercy. Accept negotiations." President Dong-hyun looked at the Centauran with cold eyes. "Ambassador, if someone destroyed your nurseries, killed your children, what would you do?" The Centauran had no answer. The president continued. "We gave the Valtari a choice. They chose violence. Now they face the consequences. This continues until they surrender unconditionally or until they are no longer a threat. Those are the only options." The Galactic Council met to discuss the war. They issued statements calling for peace. They asked both sides to stop fighting. Earth's ambassador, Ji Hai, stood before the council and delivered a response that shocked the galaxy. The council had decades to stop Valtari aggression. You did nothing when they enslaved 17 species. You said nothing when they committed genocide. Now you ask us for mercy? You want us to forgive them for murdering children? She looked around the chamber at the assembled alien representatives. "We will show them exactly the mercy they showed 847 children. The council can watch or get out of our way. But do not ask us to stop. We tried peace. They answered with the blood of innocence. Now they learn what humanity means by war." The message was clear. Humanity was not stopping, not negotiating, not compromising. The Valtari had started this. Humanity would finish it. Over the next weeks, human forces pushed into Valtari space. Colony after colony fell. The Valtari military, which had terrorized the galaxy for centuries, found itself outmatched at every turn. Human ships were faster. Human weapons hit harder. Human tactics were perfect. But it wasn't just technology that gave humans the edge. It was motivation. Every human soldier, every ship captain, every weapons officer fought with the image of New Haven in their minds. They fought for children who would never grow up, for dreams that would never be realized, for futures that were stolen. They fought with the fury of a species that had been pushed too far. Other alien civilizations in the galaxy began to change their behavior. The Scorian hegemony, which had been planning aggressive expansion, quietly canceled those plans. The Hive Confederation, which enslaved conquered peoples, began releasing prisoners. Minor conflicts across the galaxy suddenly resolved themselves. Everyone had received the same message. Don't make humanity angry, and absolutely under no circumstances, never harm their children. Back on Earth, Commander Hyunwoo compiled intelligence reports for President Dong-hyun. "Sir, we're achieving total deterrence. Species that were aggressive for centuries are backing down. Some are even asking to ally with us, hoping for protection." 6 months into the war, the galaxy had changed completely. The Valtari Empire, which had dominated this region of space for 300 years, was crumbling. 27 of their star systems had fallen to human forces. Their legendary military was broken. Their people lived in fear. But the war had changed humanity too. Admiral Yunji sat in her quarters on the Unity's Fury, staring at the photo she still kept. The children of New Haven smiling and waving at the camera. Bora in the front row, her bright eyes full of dreams, all of them dead now. Yunji had fought in 12 major battles since Eden 7. Her ships had destroyed over 50 Valtari capital ships. Thousands of enemy soldiers had died by her orders. She was a hero to humanity, a monster to the Valtari. She wrote in her personal log something she did every night. "We're winning. We're destroying them system by system. But I look in the mirror and barely recognize myself. Every time I give the order to fire, to refuse surrender, to bomb their infrastructure, I remember why. 847 children. It justifies everything. But what are we becoming?" She wasn't alone in feeling this way. Across the human military, soldiers struggled with what they were doing. They had enlisted to avenge children, to protect the innocent. But now they were carrying out what looked like total destruction of an entire civilization. On captured Valtari worlds, human occupation forces faced difficult truths. Valtari civilians lived under military rule. Valtari children looked at human soldiers with fear in their eyes. These children hadn't chosen this war. They were innocent. Captain Jin Ho commanded an occupation garrison on a fallen Valtari colony. He wrote reports to his superiors expressing his concerns. The Valtari children here look at us like we're monsters. They're not so different from human kids. They play, they learn, they have families. We're here because their military killed our children. But these kids are innocent. How do I reconcile that? On Earth, Commander Hyunwoo noticed troubling patterns in the data. Suicide rates among combat veterans were rising. Requests for psychological discharge were increasing. The soldiers who fought to protect children were being damaged by the very war they waged. He brought his concerns to President Dong Hyun. Sir, we're destroying the enemy, but we're also destroying ourselves. Our people see what they're doing and it's breaking them. How many more systems do we need to take before we've achieved justice? The president looked older than his years. The weight of this war showed in every line on his face. If we stop before the threat is eliminated, we betray those 847 children. If we continue, we risk losing our humanity. There's no good choice. Only the least terrible one. On the Valtari homeworld, the High Council finally faced reality. War Master Krelvax, promoted after so many other commanders died, delivered a brutal assessment. The humans cannot be defeated, he said bluntly. Their technology is superior. Their industrial capacity is greater. And most importantly, they will never stop. We've fought many wars. We understand conquest, territory, resources. But the humans aren't fighting for any of those things. They're fighting for revenge. For principles we don't comprehend. They'll burn every world we have before they negotiate. The council members sat in stunned silence. For 3,000 years, the Valtari had never faced defeat like this. One council member, a scholar named Telrana, spoke quietly. Perhaps we should consider surrender. The reaction was immediate and angry. Surrender? The Valtari Empire has never surrendered. We would rather die. Telrana stood firm. And how many of our people must die for pride? Our children? Our families? The humans have shown they can destroy us, but they've also shown they don't massacre civilians on occupied worlds. We can surrender and survive, or we can fight to extinction. Which choice honors our people more? The council was divided. Some wanted to fight to the end. Others, seeing the reports from the front lines, were starting to realize that Telrana was right. Krelvax did something unprecedented. He sent a secret message to Admiral Tae-yang, requesting a back-channel communication. He wanted to know if there was any path to peace that didn't involve the complete destruction of the Valtari people. When Admiral Tae-yang received the message, he was surprised. In 30 years of military service, no enemy commander had ever reached out to him during an active campaign. He brought the message to Earth to the President and the War Cabinet. The debate was intense. Some cabinet members thought it was a trick. Others saw an opportunity to end the war without complete genocide. President Dong Hyun made the decision. Send a response. Tell them the only acceptable outcome is unconditional surrender. Complete disarmament. War crimes trials for those responsible for Eden 7. Reparations. Occupation. Those terms are not negotiable. If they want peace, those are the conditions. The alternative is we continue until their empire no longer exists. Their choice, the message was transmitted. Now humanity waited. Meanwhile, the war continued. Admiral Tae-yang planned the final major offensive. Operation Righteous Fury. A direct assault on the Valtari core worlds, the heart of their empire. It would involve over 400 human capital ships and support from 6 allied alien species who had quietly sided with humanity. These allies didn't join because they loved humanity. They joined because they feared what would happen if they didn't. They had seen what humanity could do. They had seen that humans would destroy themselves if necessary to exact justice. That kind of determination was terrifying. Admiral Yoonji would lead one of the assault groups. Her target was Valtor Secundus, the Empire's second most important world. The Valtari would defend it with everything they had. It would be the bloodiest battle of the war. The night before the operation began, Yoonji visited the ship's memorial wall. Every human military vessel had one now. A wall listing the names of the 910 people who died at New Haven. 847 children, 63 adults, every name carved in metal. She found Bora's name and touched it gently. "I'm fighting for you," she whispered. "For all of you. I hope that means something. I hope we're doing the right thing." The assault on Vialtor Secundus began at dawn, ship time. The Valtari defense was fierce and desperate. They knew if this world fell, their empire was finished. They fought with everything they had. But desperation couldn't overcome the human advantage in technology and coordination. The battle raged for 8 hours. Space lit up with weapons fire. Ships exploded. People died on both sides. Near the end of the battle, a Valtari captain broadcast on an open channel. His ship was dying, engines failing, life support critical. He begged Yunji to accept his surrender. His voice was emotional, describing the crew members he was trying to save, the families waiting for them back home. Yunji listened to his plea. For a moment, she saw not an enemy but a person, someone trying to save his people, just like she was trying to avenge hers. She responded on the same open channel, her voice cold but not cruel. 847 children had families too. They had people waiting for them. They had futures. You took that from them. Now you want mercy? She ordered the Valtari ship destroyed, but after giving the order, she muted her transmission and whispered, "I'm sorry." Her tactical officer heard it and said nothing. He didn't know if she was apologizing to the Valtari she just killed or to the person she used to be. Vialtor Secundus fell. The Valtari Empire had lost its second most important world. Their military was shattered. Their economy was collapsing. Their people were losing hope. Back on the Valtari homeworld, the High Council met in emergency session. Krelvax had received President Donghyun's terms. He presented them to the council. The terms were harsh. Unconditional surrender. Complete disarmament. War crimes trials. Reparations that would take 50 years to pay. Human occupation of key worlds for 2 decades. The Valtari Empire, which had controlled 200 star systems, would be reduced to less than half that. But the alternative was extinction. Krelvax played the footage from New Haven for the council. Most of them had never actually watched it, dismissing it as irrelevant emotionalism. Now they sat in silence and watched children die, watched adults sacrifice themselves, heard Bora's final words. When the footage ended, Tel Rana spoke. "We did this. Our warriors, our orders. We expected them to just accept it because we didn't understand what we were taking from them. We can continue until they kill every last one of us, or we can admit we were wrong and surrender." The vote was close, 7-6 in favor of surrender. For the first time in 3,000 years, the Valtari Empire would sue for peace. The message was sent to Earth. "We accept your terms. We surrender." When President Donghyun read the message, he closed his eyes. It was over. After 6 months of the most brutal war humanity had ever fought, it was finally over. But 847 children were still dead. No surrender could change that. No victory could bring them back. Justice had been achieved. But the price for both sides had been terrible. The surrender ceremony took place on a neutral space station maintained by the Centauran Consortium. War Master Krelvax represented the Valtari Empire. Admiral Taeyang represented humanity. Representatives from 30 alien species came to witness this historic moment. The terms were read publicly. Complete disarmament of Valtari military forces. Reparations equal to 40% of their economy for the next 50 years. War crimes trials for those responsible. Human occupation of key Valtari worlds for 20 years. The empire that once controlled 200 star systems would keep only 87. The rest would gain independence or come under human administration. The galaxy watched, shocked by the harsh terms. But then humanity announced something unexpected. They would fund reconstruction of civilian infrastructure on Valtari worlds. They would provide humanitarian aid. They would ensure Valtari children had access to education and healthcare. Ambassador Ji Hai explained to the assembled species. "We didn't fight this war to destroy a people. We fought to ensure they could never threaten children again."
Any children?
The Valtari people aren't our enemy. Their military leadership was, "We want them to rebuild into something better." The other species didn't know how to respond. Humanity had waged total war with terrifying efficiency, then showed mercy and victory. Were humans peaceful or violent? Compassionate or ruthless? The answer, it seemed, was both. 6 months after the surrender, the war crimes trials began on Earth. The most prominent defendant was Captain Velcor, who had commanded the strike team that destroyed New Haven. He stood in a courtroom before human judges, charged with the murder of 910 civilians. His defense was simple. He had followed orders. He believed he was attacking a military target. He didn't know civilians were inside. The prosecution presented evidence. Thermal scans had clearly shown small-framed beings inside the building, consistent with children. His tactical computer had flagged it as a potential civilian structure. He never requested verification before attacking. 3 survivors testified, maintenance workers who had been in a separate building. They described hearing the children screaming, seeing the building collapse, being unable to help. Their testimony brought tears to everyone in the courtroom. Velcor was found guilty. The sentence was life imprisonment. Other Valtari commanders faced similar trials. Some were executed for the worst crimes. Others received long prison sentences. Notably, War Master Krelvax was tried for his role in the initial invasion, but was acquitted. He had warned against the attack. He had worked to end the war. The judges ruled that justice required fairness, not revenge. 1 year after the war ended, Admiral Yunji returned to Eden 7. She hadn't been back since the battle. Now she stood at the memorial that had been built where New Haven once stood. The memorial was simple. A stone wall listing every name. 847 children, 63 adults, each name carved deep into the black stone. Around it gardens grew, flowers bloomed. Life continued. Yunji walked along the wall reading names. Bora Jiwoo, Director Hayun, Teacher Kyungmi. So many names, so many lives cut short. She stood there for hours, tears streaming down her face. These were the first tears she had allowed herself since the war began. For months she had been hard as steel, focused on vengeance. Now, with the war over, the grief finally came. A young woman approached. She introduced herself as Director So-min, head of the new orphanage built near the memorial. It was funded by reparations from the Valtari, but expanded to house children from many worlds. "Would you like to visit the orphanage, Admiral?" So-min asked gently. Yunji wasn't sure she could handle it, but she followed anyway. Inside the new building, children played and learned. Human children, Valtari children, children from a dozen other species. All together, some of the Valtari children had lost parents in the war, lost them to human weapons. To Yunji's weapons, a small Valtari girl, maybe 6 years old, approached Yunji shyly. She spoke in careful, accented human language. "Are you Admiral Yunji?" Yunji nodded, her throat tight. "My father died in the war," the girl said. "Director So-min says you were fighting because bad people hurt children." "She says both sides lost people. Is that true?" Yunji knelt down to the child's level. She looked into those innocent eyes and saw no hatred, just confusion. Just a child trying to understand a war she was too young to comprehend. "Yes," Yunji whispered. "Both sides lost people. I'm sorry about your father." It was the first time she had apologized to anyone from the other side. The child nodded, then ran back to play with her friends, human and alien alike. Director So-min sat beside Yunji. "The children don't understand war. They just know they're safe here. That's what matters." Yunji watched the children play together, laughing and chasing each other. Human and Valtari children who should have been enemies playing as friends. Maybe this was what New Haven had died for. Not revenge. Not victory, but this. A future where children of all species could live without fear. 5 years after the war, the galaxy had settled into a new order. Humanity was now recognized as a major power. Not through conquest or expansion, but through demonstration of what they were capable of when pushed too far. The Galactic Council passed the Eden Accords, comprehensive treaties declaring attacks on children to be crimes against all sapient life, punishable by united galactic response. Some species called it the law humans wrote in blood. Other aggressive species changed their behavior. The Scorian hegemony stopped their expansion plans. The Hive Confederation freed enslaved populations. Minor wars across the galaxy resolved themselves peacefully. Everyone had learned the same lesson. Don't provoke humanity, and never ever harm their children. Commander Hyunwoo, now Director of Human Intelligence, briefed President Dong-hyun on the state of the galaxy. "We've achieved total deterrence, sir. No one will test us again. They've seen what we can do. They know we'll destroy ourselves if necessary to protect the innocent." That terrifies them. President Dong-hyun, older and grayer now, nodded slowly. Is that good? Yenwu thought carefully. It's not what we wanted. We never wanted to be the galaxy's monster, but maybe being the monster that protects children is better than being the victims who couldn't. And maybe, just maybe, those 847 children made the galaxy safer for all children everywhere. If that's true, their deaths meant something. 20 years after the war, the memorial at New Haven had become a pilgrimage site. Thousands visited every year, humans, Valtari, aliens from across the galaxy. It stood as a reminder of what was lost and what changed. Former Admiral Yoon-ji, now retired and 62 years old, visited every year on the anniversary. She wasn't alone. Former War Master Krelvax came too. Over the years, these two old soldiers from opposite sides had developed an unlikely friendship, bonded by shared recognition of the war's terrible cost. They stood at the memorial together, looking at the names carved in stone. I dream about them sometimes, Krelvax said quietly. The faces from your footage. I wonder what they could have become if we hadn't attacked. Yoon-ji nodded. I dream about them too, and about your people that I killed. There's no redemption for either of us. We can't undo what happened. We can only remember, and make sure it never happens again. Behind them, children laughed as they ran toward the nearby school. Human, Valtari, Centauran, and others, all learning together in the expanded educational complex built around the memorial. One of the teachers, a young woman named Hee-young, approached. Admiral Yoon-ji? War Master Krelvax? The students are studying the Eden Accords today. Would you speak to them? They agreed and followed her inside. 60 children from many species listened as Yoon-ji and Krelvax told their stories, not glorifying war, not hiding from the truth, explaining the cost, showing why peace matters, teaching why the Accords exist. A young human boy raised his hand. Did we win the war? Yoon-ji thought carefully before answering. We achieved our goals. We made sure those responsible faced justice. We changed the galaxy's rules. But winning? I'm not sure anyone wins a war. We survived it. We learned from it. Now we're trying to build something better. That's not winning. That's just continuing. Krelvax added, the real victory is you. All of you. Different species learning together, living together in peace. That's what we should have been doing all along. If we'd understood that before, maybe none of this would have been necessary. After the presentation, as evening came to Eden 7, Yoon-ji and Krelvax returned to the memorial one last time. Yoon-ji placed flowers at the base. Krelvax added a Valtari morning crystal. Do you think they would forgive us? Krelvax asked. The children? Director Hyun? All of them? Yoon-ji looked at the names carved in stone. Laura's name near the top. I don't know, I hope so. But forgiveness isn't really the point. The point is making sure it never happens again. That every child everywhere can grow up safe. That's what they deserved. That's what we owe them. They stood in silence as stars emerged in the darkening sky. Somewhere in the complex behind them, children were laughing, playing together. Human, Valtari, and others, all safe in a world rebuilt from ashes. It wasn't redemption. It wasn't forgetting. The scars would never fully heal. But it was hope. And sometimes hope was enough.